Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of our guests. It may look a little different today because my counterpart and co president of FOA, Jennifer, will not be joining us. So she left me at the helm to take care of today's interview. We're very lucky and honored to have Roberto Dutesco on our call today. He is the founder and associated with the I Am Wild Foundation, and he will be, discussing art and art as an investment, not only monetarily or financially, but also as an investment in people. He is, he has shot high fashion and been a high fashion photographer for 30 years. He also works on the Sable Island or Horses of Sable Island project, and he has had the longest running art installation and art show in New York, which has been running for 25 years. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Roberto Dutesco to FOA Live. And for anybody wondering, I'll do cleanup and housekeeping at the end of the session. Thanks. Hey, Roberto, how are you?
Hello, everyone. How is everybody?
Good. Thank you for taking the time to join us today from your gallery in New York and the installation that you're working on there. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for anybody that doesn't know you on the call and walking us through kind of who you are and how you came to end up on a call with FOA.
Well, thank you, Rush. Thank you for making it possible. My name is Roberto Dutesco. I've been a traveler and an explorer most of my life. I'm a Romanian born. I'm Canadian. I live in Montreal. I live in New York. Sometimes in Sao Paulo. So I travel a lot. I've seen a lot of things, and I've been fortunate through my fashion years, as you mentioned, Rush, to have discovered a lot of the of the world and the planet, and to engage into those observations of beauty that the planet has to, that our planet offers always. The Wild Horses of Sable Island came to me on a late evening in Montreal. The Canadian Film Board did a short film about Sable Island, and I kind of questioned where that is. And without knowing that I was going to spend the next 30 years documenting it, Sable Island became a passion and became a project which turned out to be something that stirred up a lot of conversations, a lot of wonderful friendships along the way.
And with that, the inspiration for that and for the gallery that you put together revolves around the horses of Sable Island, which
Yes.
Roberto is going to do a walk through the gallery at the end. So anybody that wants to stick around for an extra couple minutes, he's offered and has been kind enough to give us a digital tour. So the horses are sort of a byproduct of the island, and your take on it and the idea to bring those horses to light also then brings conservation for their environment. And
Yes.
so kind of walk through that and what your experiences were, while I guess when you first went to Sable Island and how your take on that location has evolved.
Of course, I mean, in the early stages when I was shooting fashion, I mean, my thought about discovering a brand new place that is untouched by humanity was mostly to actually bring some models and photograph them running on the beach. But then as soon as I actually arrived on Sable Island, I thought, that this place is really special. It reminds me of the old place where I used to roam when I was very young, total wilderness. You have to remember that Sable Island's about 350 nautical miles from where the Titanic went down, so it's off the coast of Nova Scotia. And the way that I tell the story, that on Sable Island you have about 500 horses, about 500 shipwrecks that brought many of these horses, and you have about 500 years of known history. So on the island, they live totally unaware and unafraid of men. There's no visitors to the island, not at least when I was there in the early 90s. And I've traveled to Sable Island 10 times over the past 30 years to kind of document it, because I realized at that time that there was no documentation. So I made it my life mission to dedicate much of my time and my energy to photograph, to film, and to document this incredible, unique, magical place, Sable Island. And of course, once you do that, the single place in the world where I thought that I should bring this is New York City. I mean, at the time I was shooting fashion, so we opened up a gallery in New York City. And the reason that we opened up our own gallery, because at that time, many of the galleries thought, wild horses, I mean, I'm not sure about showing it on my gallery walls. In the end, we opened up a gallery, and it ended up being one of the longest running shows in the city. Was there for 25 years. So now being in this space and back in New York kind of brings me a tremendous joy, and it's kind of extraordinary to kind of when I look at the journey where we've traveled. We went to the UN, we went to the National Arts Club, we're on Madison Avenue, we went around the world. I mean, these wild horses of Sable Island have traveled in ways and places that I would have never imagined when I first got to that place.
And in our first meetings when we had dinner,
Yes.
in New York, and then subsequently on the phone when we've reached out and spoken, the idea, and it started off and revolved around impact investing, and I think that's a very very obtuse label to put on it, because a lot of times impact investing looks very much at sort of the nuts and bolts and dirt and buildings in that way. So the investment, as you see it, for art and investment in art for impact, what are your thoughts on that? How do you see that as impact investing?
Well, I think that I mean, it can be addressed in a few different ways, but I'm just going to mention my observation in terms of what it means to me as an artist, at least, and viewed through the many years of many collectors that have actually purchased and have been living with my art for years now. The impact investment investment into art in general can be seen into two different ways. You buy something because you think it's worth a lot of money, and then eventually you're going to sell it for more, or you actually find something that you really love, and you put it on your walls, and you look at it every day, and that single object gives you something that you don't get anywhere else. And therefore, impact investment, in that sense, it's towards your own self in terms of well-being, wellness, and joy, beauty, love. I've seen over time enough people that have been silent, laughing, crying, even lie down on the floor and just be silent and meditate. Or so this particular wild horses, for a reason that I cannot explain, they certainly proven that art can do something else beyond just being purchased with the idea that at one point it will maybe create wealth for the individual that decides to
Right.
sell it into the future. So there's a few different ways to look at it, and what I'm going to say, which it's very close to my heart, I see a lot of parents bringing their own kids to look at wild horses. To me, that's a direct and unique and such a special moment when somebody comes in and these young kids, they look at these horses and they feel a kinship to them, a closeness. Now, those kids that were 2, 3, 4 years old, now they're in their 20s or 30s now. And imagine the impact that these particular wild horses have had being on their walls for so many years. Many of them actually are coming back into the gallery with a simple comment. I mean, I lived with this work for such a long time. Now I'm getting my own apartment, and you know what? I want to continue that feeling. So to me, that's an impact that I have never thought possible at the time when I traveled to Sable Island and when we opened up the gallery.
Yeah, I thank you. And I think you have a new fan, Stephanie. Thank you for the comment. She's said beautiful, and I love it. And there will be Roberto will give a little bit more of a look at the whole gallery at the end as we walk around. Um, so there, and I think that delineation is really important, sort of between, especially with the arts, of a financial return, or a whole person return, and we discussed that on a prior call, and we also discussed fractional ownership, which has become very prevalent these days, and your take on it was very insightful and interesting. That fractional ownership, as a financial investment, is interesting, and it opens high-end art up to more people's eyes, because they're doing their research to make the investments. So if you want to expand on that a little bit, as far as fractional ownership and art as an investment, and even not non-fractional ownership with art as an investment.
Sure. I mean, as with all things, I mean, the idea that you have to find what you love. I certainly live with art. I mean, I have so much art all over the walls, paintings in various places where I live. And my kids look at these paintings and they paint and they enjoy being in that medium. Now, when it comes down to fractional ownership, they would only have a chance to actually look at those paintings if they would have a device to turn on. And the larger the device, the more inclined they would be to kind of study it a bit more. You know, I mean, we talked about it in the on the previous call that we're talking about Mona Lisa. I mean, I had a poster on the wall, and I certainly looked at it for a very long time because I think it's such a famous painting. Now, the idea, if that would become available to be available to the masses by fractalization, maybe that's a great idea. Maybe the Louvre will decide that one day, you know what, it belongs to the world and everybody should have a piece of it. What I encourage everyone in general is to do more of what they love, and that's with everything, not just with one single thing. And by doing that, you tend to kind of find those things that bring you joy, that bring you love, and bring you happiness in your own life. So whether that's a poster on the wall, a picture on the wall, or a fraction of a photograph or a painting that you're going to store in your digital wallet or on your screen or on your tablet, I mean, that's something that I encourage everybody to do. Fractalization it's at the very early stages. I even consider, would I want to actually take my whole collection of the wild horses that I've been doing for the past 30 years and make it available to the world? And what does it mean? Does it mean that everybody has access to it in a way that they have never thought possible? I think it's a very interesting idea because I can only do what I can do as a single individual and a single artist. But imagine, for example, if I would make all this available to all the creative people around the world to be part of it. So did it cross my mind? Absolutely. So maybe that's going to happen in the future. So fractalization in a form of digital art, I mean, it's something that is going to happen. But once again, the most important thing is to to love it. So that's my advice to everybody. Find something that you love, and whether that thing that you love is going to go up and down in value, the sentimental value that it does for you when you look at it every single day deals with eternity. And I think that that's kind of what art and what love is about. We have to kind of think of it as being an investment into our own selves. And if we can make some great decisions where some of that art in the future will be worth so much more, how great is that? But in the
Yeah.
meantime, you can live with it and you can enjoy it just as much.
Yeah, and Giovanni, we are not speaking specifically about Masterworks, although they're one of the leading firms in fractional art ownership, and Scott Lynn's a fellow Kansas Citian. But we are discussing art as an investment and also impact investment. But Masterworks is one of the leaders in that space. So the another thing we discussed when we were Roberto, when we were going through your going through dinner and then the calls, was the museum concept that you're working on.
Yes.
And I found it interesting as we were discussing, where that could be a fit, and what your thoughts and plans were for that, and
Sure.
the discussion around the potential of finding or securing or getting funding and finding a partnership in a development that wants a museum concept with a larger planned either community or economic center. So if you wanted to discuss a little bit sort of your thoughts for the museum, and I can kind of run through very broadly the what some of those benefits could be in way of tax incentives and benefits for the project, to have a museum concept in a macro or
Sure.
major scale development.
Yes. I mean, so I did not just wake up one morning and I thought that maybe I should have a foundation and maybe I should just create the possibility of a museum concept. Over time in Seoul, we've been hosting a lot of different foundations, and I've been noticing in terms of how every single foundation operates, their aims, their purpose, their decision making. So I got inspired to actually create the I Am Wild Foundation, which is basically, it's a reminder that we're all wild. We come from nature, and we have to take responsibility for our own selves. That is called I Am Wild, not We're Wild. And I think that by just reminding ourselves that we come from nature, maybe we should do something about and protect it, and maybe we should do something about it in regards to loving it a bit more and caring for it more. I mean, we live in a single space on this planet, traveling through space at incredible speeds, and I mean, we're all united in ways that we cannot even imagine sometimes. So with the idea of the foundation, many people have walked into the gallery and they said, okay, so what's the next step? What you're going to do? How are you going to travel? So after touring the several different countries and the world and up and down, the idea of a permanent museum came to mind. And the I Am Wild Foundation supporting this initiative is very much about dedicated to the wild horses of Sable Island at first. So this 30 years of documentation, where is it going to be? What's going to happen with it? And as we know, and I've been supporting several different foundations. We've built a kindergarten in Indonesia. I've been supporting several different foundations. For that matter of fact, we had Bravehearts that actually came into the gallery 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we know that horses have a very important role in PTSD healing process, and we know that kids when they are in front of a horse, they feel a certain way. So my thought has been, if we create some gigantic images, will they actually create wellness and well-being when we're actually in front of these images? And on that note, I'm talking to a doctor from New York to see if we can actually quantify it scientifically. So the museum is a space that basically we have started building. We have a brilliant architect, and we have engaged ourselves into that possibility where this wild horses actually can find a home. That home can be in the U.S. somewhere. And of course, in order to actually build a museum and to find a home for this particular horses, these images and the film and the footage and 500 hours of discovery, where do you put them? Where do you house them? And as I'm talking often with different photographers at large that spend tremendous time with not just wild horses but with animals at large, I ask them, like, what do you do? Where are you going to go? What's going to happen with all this work? And a lot of artists and photographers or filmmakers are sometimes lost. They not knowing what's going to happen with their art. So 30 years into it, I feel that a museum, it's a place that can benefit not just the investor. I mean, to invest in a museum is not a new concept. Museums have been there for a very long time, and they require patrons. They require people that believe that art matters at large, and therefore that investment can come back in various ways. Of course, monetarily, but I mean, what you do for everybody else that comes into that space, into that museum, it's priceless. So that's where we are at, and that's what's going to happen next over the next couple of years. That's where
Okay.
what we're planning. Yes.
Thanks. And then Giovanni, I don't know if I fully understand the question of what entity that invests into artwork. What's the focus or sector of art that you're fractionalizing? I don't. Roberto is the artist for the horses of Sable Island. And so I guess the discussion of fractionalization was an artist's take on how they view fractionalization as opposed to, I guess, him looking to invest in fractional artwork. So I appreciate the question. And so it looks like we've got about 6 minutes left. I did want to note quickly that Roberto will be in Kansas City next week. We're having a mini summit and our second installment of FOA Global Pickleball. So hopefully, I don't know if you play pickleball, Roberto, but I have a paddle. I'm happy to team
I'm a
up.
tennis player, but I'm going to give it a try without a doubt.
that's
And Kansas City.
That's all we ask. So
yeah, and Kansas City. I mean, we had a fantastic show there for actually 2 years at the Prairie for our museum with the wild horses. So coming back to Kansas City is going to feel like going home. So that's
yes, yeah, and that was one of the other things we discussed, and sort of where my thoughts during the discussion came to the museum as a component of a larger scale project or development, because there are significant benefits to the developer when they have a museum component or installation within their project. So next week, Roberto will be with us in Kansas City, and we can actually the pickleball facility is right next to Prairie Fire, so I can see you can see the beautiful glass work from the pickleball courts. Um, to sort of wrap it up on impact investing, whole person investing, and really conservation is uh,
Yes.
it's always it's sort of always someone or a group of people that create that space and that understanding to uh, promote conservation and impact, and you're doing that for Sable Island and the the citizens or the community, albeit wild horses and several other animals. And I always find it interesting that's sort of the spark that brings recognition to any movement. So if you want to sign off and wrap up and maybe take everybody for a walk around the gallery, we'll give you 3 to 5 minutes to
Of
do your
course.
thing and maybe walk us through some of the photos.
So I just want to say that I'm in the Publicist building in the old Saatchi and Saatchi art space, and it's my partnership with Publicist that this particular show came about, and alongside a bunch of other friends of mine that thought that this particular show matters. So I'm going to take you on a just a light journey in terms of what you are expecting, okay? And I'm going to go the other way so that you don't see me, but you see the art. So you are actually facing, some young horses, some that are staring at you. You witness a bit of affection. And what I wanted to create with this particular exhibit is basically to bring people onto some of those moments, uniquely special, that I discovered on Sable Island, and to bring them face to face with pretty much what it feels like it's a life size, right, horse, right? Sometimes even then larger. There's a questioning that actually happens, right? Like in this one titled Magic. And the show here, I mean, it's a 10,000 square foot space, is going to travel to a different location. And I wanted to just give the feeling of what it felt for me to be on Sable Island and to actually be amongst this gigantic horses, right? So sometimes they were together, and sometimes they were very close, and once in a while they were just observant from very far away. I created the show in a very specific way. At the beginning, you saw me in black and white, and that's why I'm dressed in black and white, because that's where I started. I'm still shooting film, and it tells you frame number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. And I like the idea of film for various different reasons, because it brings me back into the idea of life being round and not pixelated. I have also thought that maybe we should create a video wall, which is going to basically create an engagement with everyone in a different way. There are 24 televisions, and now they're actually spelling the wild horses of Sable Island. And very soon they're going to turn themselves on into daytime. While they are doing that, I'm just going to show you one of my favorite images titled Fury. But you can actually see the actual size and how this particular show kind of creates a a closer, a near feeling to my experience on Sable Island. And the videos in the background, there are 24 televisions showing 24 videos 24 times. And each one of them presents a moment into that unique space, which is Sable Island. And people ask me, like, how close are you to these horses? And I always say, however close they want me to be. So Sable Island is unique in so many different ways. And I have done, I've imagined a possibility in which these particular horses can actually thrive and it can be protected. And because of the film that we have done, Chasing Wild Horses, the island actually became a national park. So that was my small contribution into the conversation in terms of the Canadian government and how a single thought and a single idea can actually manifest a national park. So perhaps a museum can actually create the same type of a manifestation to other territories, to other places, to other animals. So this particular museum that we're building is not just for the wild horses of Sable Island, but the idea is to engage other artists and other people into that possibility of conservation. And if you have a place of contemplation, then actually you can actually contemplate life in a different way, and you can contemplate wilderness, and you can contemplate everything that's in front of you. So the I Am Wild Foundation, because that's what I like to share at the end, is brings art and beauty into people's lives, right? And inspires everyone to fall in love with nature. That's the idea. That's my reasoning behind everything that I do. And if that is true, then in turns, perhaps we can make a decision about protecting it, right? So, but in order for that to happen, we have to practice observation, we have contemplation, acknowledgement, and possibly direct action, which I feel it may create at first global positive outcomes on a larger scale. But of course, we have to start with the minute and micro impact possibilities, in the places where we live. I mean, we see what's happening here on how the wild horses in the U.S. May need some protection, some documentation, and I'm encouraging everyone to actually for everyone to contemplate the idea of what the horse is for us, for humanity. You can certainly find them in paintings, in rock paintings, and rock scratches for tens of thousands of years. And maybe the wild horses actually, they have a different story to tell us. Maybe it's a story that we have not discovered just yet. But we can only discover it perhaps if we can create that space for them to exist. And since most of the people have never been in front of a live horse, I thought that gigantic images, maybe it may bring them closer. And when closer and in love, we can do all kinds of incredible things as humans.
Well, I appreciate you taking us on a walk through the gallery. I am excited next time I'm in New York to come take a visit.
So the
And
show here, I'm inviting everybody to actually see it. We're going to be here till December 10th. We're at 375 Hudson Street. It's free. Just come in, see the show, and let's find another place for this to exist. That's the reasoning of art and how it can actually benefit others beyond.
Yeah, and you a second fan, Amy. Thank you for the comment, and again, Roberto, thank you for taking the time, and thank you for dedicating a large portion of your life to something that you loved, but then, as you'd said, is also making an impact. The idea that the Canadian government turned Sable Island into a national park where not only you and your photos and your documentation can exist, but anybody that wants to go experience that going forward now have that space thanks to your dedication and the impact that you've made. So I think that is 5 minutes over, but I don't think anybody's upset. The gallery looks beautiful. Congratulations
Thank you, Raj.
on your success, and I look forward to seeing it and you in person next time I'm out in New York. And thank everybody for joining us. I know that we're usually sort of numbers and boxes and very numbers driven and investment driven with the guests that we've had. So hopefully you enjoyed this presentation. I know I did. And again, thank you, Roberto, and everybody else. Have a good week.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Looking
All right.
forward to our next chat. Bye-bye.
Yep. Take care.
Bye-bye.